Hi, Virgo. Welcome to your June 2021 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So, transits in Gemini are really the story of the month of June, namely, yet another eclipse, and this time a solar eclipse in Gemini. Gemini for you is the 10th house of career, so this is a very important area of life. And as the month begins, you have the sun in that 10th house, you have Venus there, and there's a Mercury retrograde happening there. And Mercury is your ruler, so we give it special import because of that. So when the sun is in the 10th house, a person, it's almost like you're channeling a Capricorn, where you are being very ambitious, maybe feeling like you have accomplished, maybe you're proud of your accomplishments and things like that. And yet, because there happens to be a Mercury retrograde at this time, you might be rethinking something. So when somebody has a midheaven, or this is like, in other words, the cusp of the 10th house in Gemini, they tend to be very versatile in what they can do and what they want to do. And so, Gemini is a mutable sign, Virgo is a mutable sign. And so you are already like this. And I'm talking about the sun and the rising sign. I didn't say this at the beginning, that this is also for the rising sign, Virgo rising. So usually I would, at least place a bet that at some point in your life, you have a job/career that revolves around teaching, perhaps selling, anything that where you are speaking for a living or disseminating information. The media can be a big area for, like journalism and things like that. And now, because the internet is so much a part of our lives, anything that is connected to like managing, like being a moderator, well, I don't know if you get paid for that, but something that is associated with social media platforms in particular. And so the other thing too is that Gemini can deal with being, maybe even using your hands in some way. So perhaps being crafty and things like that. And the reason I'm bringing these things up is because you may be kind of going back and forth about something that you want to do, rethinking it. Maybe you've gone down one road and you feel like, you invested time in a certain career and you don't want to necessarily just throw it all away. But by the same token, maybe you don't enjoy it anymore. These kinds of things can come up for anybody, but at this time, this might be where your head is at. And the other thing too is that even if let's say you're a teacher, you may have multiple interests and you might want to teach either a different subject matter or a different age group. So anyway, this is going on at the same time as you have this solar eclipse in this house, which may provide new opportunities, but even new insights that have been about things in your mind that maybe you have kind of kept hidden from yourself. And this can sometimes be jarring because you might have shoved something under the rug and now you have to really face it. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're somebody who's in your 20s, I'll say your late 20s, and you majored in a particular career, subject matter that led to a certain career. And you've been doing it for a few years. So you're out in the real world. And maybe you're going through your first Saturn return. So let's say you're about 28 to 30 years of age. And you're getting this feeling in the pit of your stomach that you're making the wrong decision, that you are not really happy with this. And as the days and months go by, you just feel like you don't like what you're doing, and you feel this greater sense of resistance, coming over you. And maybe the solar eclipse really hits home this idea of, I'm doing this for my parents. Even if you're a grown-ass person, you can still be doing something for somebody else. Or you thought you wanted to do it because you have a certain talent in that area, but you don't have a passion for it. And, it's interesting because the sun in the 10th house will give you that feeling of what is passion, because the sun is about what we aspire to. So it is connected to our goals and, shining our light in the world. And the 10th house is at top of the chart. So how other people see us. And so when you have that solar eclipse, you may get some kind of insight. Or it's funny because, like the lunar eclipse might be more of the insight. The solar eclipse might just bring things to light in a very kind of, conscious visual way, or whatever you want to call it. The very next day on the 11th, Mars goes into your 12th house in the sign of Leo. Wow. So Mars is very, there's a physicality about Mars, very active. The 12th house is a hermit's house. By the way, you're the hermit in the tarot, Virgo. So you must have some affinity with this area, even though you actually rule the opposite house, the 6th house, which is more of like a practical house of health and work. The 12th house is Pisces house, and it's very much about seclusion, meditation, retreat, like solitude, karma, spiritual dimensions. So the question is, how does Mars act in the 12th? One thing is behind the scenes, not showing your cards to others, doing things in secret, strategizing, maybe, doing some kind of a project before you debut it, or, share it with others, but having it, working behind the scenes. So working by yourself is something that you may want to do more than working with others at this time, and it would certainly make sense. Be careful about any kind of behavior that is self-destructive, because Mars can be action, and the 12th house can be this is the house of self-undoing. So anything that tends to be self-sabotaging. There's a really strong drive with the 12th house to for escapism, and that can make the person feel like they don't like reality. They want kind of like a fantasy version of life. I feel that one of the things that can be very challenging with Mars in the 12th house is that there's this energy from Mars, and yet the 12th house is very contemplative. And there's a physicality with Mars. So a happy medium is doing something like Hatha Yoga, which can make you physical. Which can, kind of give you that physical release, but is also having a spiritual influence at the same time. Okay, so, and then, of course, when Mars goes into Virgo, it'll be in your first house, and then you will have that, first house can be your body, and you can feel that sense of energy be restored. You might feel a little bit drained, at this time. So just look forward to that. On the 20th, we have the sun going into Cancer, this power period where the sun into a cardinal sign heralds the change of season. And, that's, in this case, it's an equinox, a solstice. I was thinking of the fall and winter. The summer solstice in the northern hemisphere, this time of the height of summer. And actually, they say the beginning of summer, but we really feel that strength of summer. And on the very same day, Jupiter goes retrograde. Now, Jupiter is in your opposite sign of Pisces. So Jupiter is in the 7th house for Virgos. And it's going to go back into Aquarius in late July. So for the next 5 weeks and I'm talking about from the 20th of June until about, I don't know, it's going to be maybe July 27th or something along those lines, or the 28th. You're going to have, it's still in Pisces in that 7th house, and this is going to have you be very reflective about, what relationships mean to you. And this is more on the spiritual level, because we can look at reflecting on things on different levels, What does a relationship mean to you in terms of enhancing your life in a material sense versus, or a romantic sense? But with Jupiter, it can be more of somebody who's a spiritual helpmate or companion. And this is actually, I feel like, something that people do not think long and hard about when they're deciding whether or not to get married or commit to somebody, is that if you're not on the same page from a philosophical or spiritual perspective, there can be quite a difference, a gap, whatever you want to call it, and that can lead to alienation. The perfect example is somebody who is very materialistic with somebody who is very devoutly religious and or devoutly mystical. It doesn't have to be a religion per se, but just believes in something beyond the 5 senses, beyond the world, and really feels like this should be the center of life, and they want to share it with their partner. It's not so much that you can't practice your beliefs by yourself, but if you're with somebody who might be downright contemptuous of it, that can certainly be challenging. But even if the other person tolerates it, chances are there's still going to be a rift, because the person who is very materialistic, they're going to look at life in that way in so many different instances. And so that, each person can feel that the other person is irrational. So you're going to be reviewing this for a while, and it may come up in different ways depending on your personal circumstances. An example would be if you're about to get married, but you don't know, you're kind of arguing which kind of church to get married in. Or maybe one of you doesn't want to even get married in the church. And so then that's making you think about other things. A couple of days after this, Mercury turns direct on the 22nd. And we can really say that from the 22nd onwards, that there is more decisiveness altogether, because Mercury is a personal planet, Jupiter is not. And so the possibility of Mercury being more influential in your life is certainly there. And, so you can just see what happens after the 22nd if you feel like things are starting to gel more. In your case, as it pertains to your career matters, especially what you decide to do. 2 days after that, on the 24th, there's a full moon at 3 degrees of Capricorn. Now, Capricorn is a fellow earth sign, so this is actually going to be in your 5th house. Virgo, this is a very nice house. This is the house of love and creativity. Can be very good for artists. Maybe you come up with a great idea for your next work. You could be finishing a work. You could be falling in love and realizing that you've met the one. And again, maybe that's what this Jupiter retrograde is all about. This idea of, I would say, like, if your marriage is rocky, Jupiter in the 7th house retrograding can be like, do I believe that I have to stay married forever? Even though that was how I was raised, that was the religion I was brought up in. But I'm not so sure that that's the case. I think that maybe, just maybe, I have the right to perhaps have a different viewpoint on that. So that kind of, questioning of the religious conditioning or religious indoctrination can occur with Jupiter retrograding in the 7th house and how it pertains to marriage. Or maybe like moving in together, if you have resisted it and you think it's wrong, where is that coming from? Is that really you? And really just questioning the ethics. Jupiter can be about ethics, morality. And that's why I'm saying with the full moon in the 5th house, it can be the sense of like, yes, you know what? I really do feel like I don't love this person in the same way anymore, and I'm ready to let go of that. On the 27th, Venus goes into Leo, and so Venus joins Mars in the 12th house. Now, for some people, that full moon may have made you realize that you were in love with somebody, maybe somebody that you're not supposed to be in love with, because you're attached and or they are attached. And Venus in the 12th house can be this forbidden love, the secret love affair type of thing. And it may not be that you're necessarily cheating on your spouse if you have separated but haven't gotten divorced yet, but or even if you're not even married and you're just being kind of a little bit discreet about a relationship, it doesn't mean that you're just kind of slinking around. It could just simply be that you don't want prying eyes to know what you're up to, because you want to just kind of enjoy this relationship before other people start to put their 2 cents in about it. It seems to me that that would be a good thing to do a lot of times, rather than just grandly announce to everybody that you're seeing somebody when you really aren't sure if the 2 of you have a future. And sometimes it is good to just kind of keep that to yourself. Um, so what I think about this month is that there's a lot going on, but I think one of the big pieces here is that your career may see a lot of boosting, but also your love life is somehow, especially in the second half of the month, may really seem like, or the 2/3 into the month, may seem like there is a crucial development there somehow. Okay, Virgo, I hope that this resonated in some way. If you would like to have a reading with me, I would love to read for you. And I have all kinds of readings, including double readings at a special price. If you're interested, you can check out my offerings at the link below. I'm at rainamoonastrology.com. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.